a sad story, a painful story, but still a story that shows human triumph over one of the greatest pandemics of the 21st century. It is about how diseases from animals infect mankind, which eventually mutated to become one of the greatest killers of mankind. This is known as zoonosis. There are controversies surrounding the story of HIV, which we are going to see in a jiffy. As human population grows, the need for food, space, farmland became a necessity. Hence, man invaded wildlife, killing primates which invaded their farmland and also used them for food. The primates that are common in African forests include the chipamzees, the African green monkey, gorilla, sooty mangabes. These primates were carriers of the simian immunodeficiency virus, which has a resemblance with the human immunovirus. They dwell with primates for thousands of years without causing any harm until there was a crossover between humans as they keep hunting them for bushmeat business. During bushring, this blood come in contact with human blood and hence they were infected with HIV. This virus is a retrovirus that converts RNA to DNA with the enzyme reverse transcriptase. When this happens, mutation of this HIV continue and hence became the human immunodeficiency virus. By 1959, there was a case report of a young man who was wasted, presented with inner lesion, oral candidiasis, oral source pneumonia, and post-mortem was done and he showed he had cytomegalovirus hemocystis in his lung. This was a bizarre case in the medical community and still they could not fathom what could possibly be the cause of such an immune deficiency condition. However, post-mortem was done in 1983 and it was found out that this was HIV. By 1981, the first cases of HIV was reported in 5 gay men in Los Angeles who presented with symptoms in keeping with full-blown AIDS. 28 months later, another 28 cases of men who are all gay had similar symptoms, which is especially the Kaposi sarcoma, which is in keeping with full-blown AIDS. Edward Hopper, a journalist with Rolling and Stone, wrote in his book A Journey to the Source of AIDS, accused Koprowski, who was the brain behind the Salk vaccines, of being the cause of the HIV pandemic. Edward Hopper accused Koprowski of using tissues from chimpanzees, especially their kidneys, to do this vaccine, and he administered this vaccine to about 1 million Africans. In 1959, Abasabi, however, worked on Sabine oral polio vaccine, which was better and accepted by WHO. Further researches were done, and the hypothesis from Hopper was rejected that Salk was not the source of HIV pandemic. Eventually, Koprowski sued Rolling and Stone for defamation of character. Some journals said he sued them for $1. Further investigation was done, and some samples that were taken in 1959 stored in the University of Washington to see the relationship between G6PD deficiency and malaria were taken from Lopovid, now Kinshasa, and about 13 samples were analyzed and one was found to be HIV positive. The one that was found to be HIV positive was actually from one of the men from the Banko region from Kinshasa. And this was eventually traced that about in 1920 to 1930, HIV possibly affected man. In 2008, another discovery was made from a sample that was taken in 1960 from a woman who had lymphoma, and she was discovered in DR, the Democratic Republic of Congo. After analysis in 2008, she was discovered to have HIV. And hence, the HIV she had was actually different from the HIV that was found in 1959 in Lopovid. And hence, they dated it back that HIV possibly affected man in 1884. Further research was done by Biomed Central in 2012 and found out that HIV has been dwelling with the Biaka West pygmy for centuries. They had protective gene against HIV. Hence, HIV-1 has been in humans for a long time. When the colonial masters actually invaded West Africa, introduced sex trade, this was a trying time for Africa as this infection started spreading from humans to humans. In West Africa, for example, as at 1960, more than 2,000 Africans were already infected because of what? During the war, there was war in Congo, Nigeria, Ghana, and other countries around West Africa. There were large migrants who migrated from these West Africa countries to East Africa through the Lake Victoria. And by 1988, about 35% of Uganda truck drivers were already infected with HIV. And about 85% of sex workers in Nairobi were already HIV positive. Now, the chief epidemiologist as at then, by 1992, said they thought this was rumor. They thought it was a rumor, this disease is a rumor, but they found out that there's a disease among them, and eventually they accepted this disease as what tragedy. The spread of HIV was actually facilitated by instability and sex trade introduced by the colonial masters. By 1990, this virus has spread to South Africa like wildfire. Some villages were completely over and were annihilated completely by HIV. The myth spreading HIV that HIV could be cured while sleeping with virgins or minors, and this further worsened the spread of HIV in South Africa. By 1993, some villages in South Africa were completely annihilated by this virus. By 1993, South Africa already became the world had the highest prevalence of HIV in the world. By 1995, HIV has already spread to Southeast Asia, former USSR, Europe, and in America. In 2011, the world already had HIV population of 34.2 million people, and about 50 million children were already orphans from HIV. So it's a sad story, and we're going to see next episode. We're going to see the story, the history of HIV in Nigeria. Thank you for watching this, and if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, then kindly click on the subscription bell so that you continue to